Good morning. This is part of part 2 on this rebuild of a dial motor, electric motor for an evaporative cooler. I have spent a couple of hours removing most of the corrosion from these end pieces, the loose paint and loose rust from the motor, and cleaned up the bolts that hold everything together. I'm going to give this stuff a quick paint with Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. I'm not going to paint this. I don't really care at this point. Anyways, back in a few seconds. Alright, I lied. I hit the ends with some primer, and that's about all I'm going to do. I sprayed the bolts down also with primer, and then hit them with black paint, whatever I had on hand. And then I used the Rust Reformer on this. And the point of this is not to restore this motor. It's purely to slow down its eventual demise and maybe get one more use out of it. So hopefully when we come back from the fade, we'll be looking at putting the bearings and other stuff in when they come in. Good morning. This is basically one day after I filmed the previous little bit, and everything is dried, and I pulled this piece out and gave all the contacts a clean, being careful not to bend these copper or brass or whatever these are any more than I had to. I used some 1000 grit sandpaper to give the contacts a light clean, and then use some denatured alcohol on them. My bearings arrived from McMaster Car. Let me tell you, sometimes McMaster Car, their prices are absolutely ridiculous, but in this case their prices were pretty good. I think these were like $5 or $6 a piece, and they have an unfortunate brand name. I'll put that there. I'm not going to say it because YouTube will have a fit about a bundle of firewood. And this was one of them that I ordered. And this is the other one. And I'll show you the difference between the old and the new ones. It looks like the difference is that the old ones were sealed with plastic and these are sealed with stainless steel or something. And then, so you don't have to go back and rewind and listen, here's the old bearing. Here's the new bearing. Silent. Old bearing. New bearing. So, alright, I'm going to get some of this stuff put together. I don't need to film it, and then I'll come back. So, in case someone else has to do this, you'll see on this piece, zoom out here, in this orientation, the red wire goes here, a brown wire goes here to common, a yellow wire goes to here and then goes over to here, and then a blue wire is on this contact. Alright, so just prior to getting ready to put the bearings on this, I cleaned this off and this off so that this would be as dry as possible. There was a little bit of oil or grease on it. So for the rear bearing, I had cleaned this out. It's not a press fit. It doesn't seem like it's a very tight fit. This piece goes in here, and then the larger bearing goes on the back. Oh, you bastards. Oh, no. Larger bearing goes on the front. Don't listen to me. This is probably not the best way to do this, but so that's the rear bearing. The front bearing basically just wants to drop in there. So I'm going to put that on here. Stand by while I find something to put that, drive that through. Alright, so I drilled a hole bigger than this shaft and deeper, and now we're just going to tap it back in place. There it is. One thing I want to do is check this. Okay. Now, putting this together requires a little bit of thought. Because of how it goes together, this end is the shaft end, so it has to go. This has to go into this before we put the back end on. If we put the back end on first, we won't be able to get this end in. So I'll be right back. Alright, this part is going to be kind of delicate to try and do. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can try and pound this on. I don't particularly like that idea. So we're going to try hitting this with a little bit of heat, and it should just drop on. like that. There you go. And we only singed that piece just a tiny little bit. And you might ask how I've got this. I've set this on a coffee can so that I didn't have the shaft in the way. So the only thing left now to do to this is to put the bolts in, and then when I get the capacitor, then I can actually test it. So I'll stand by while I get everything set up. Okay, so what I did to line these up, I just tapped this around until I could get a bolt in here, drove it through here, and then just lightly tapped this until the bolt lined up. Basically, the back side, you can only install it one way. If you try to put it the wrong way, it'll these wires won't let you go that far. So, and I was going to replace these nuts because they're all kind of corroded, but the problem is they seem to be metric, and I don't have any metric nuts that size. I have smaller sizes, but not the one that is on here. There's some wires that are in the way. They don't give you a lot of thread on these nuts, so be gentle with the bolts, because the likelihood of you being able to find the right size is pretty low, I think. And I'm kind of drawing these down in a crosshatch pattern, or cross pattern, just to kind of snug them down evenly. Alright, so we're not going to torque these very tight. They have lock washers on, but if these were clean nuts and bolts, I'd probably put Loctite on them, but it appears to be raining outside. I don't know if you can hear it. Moves pretty smoothly. So now I'm going to, while I put up my tools, I'm going to go on a rant about the manufacturer of this. So if you don't want to listen to that, you can skip to the time frame that I'll put up at the bottom of the video. or on the screen. I contacted the manufacturer, Dial Manufacturing, and they told them what I wanted. Originally I got a hold of someone who I think, well, at the time I kind of suspected it was a girl, because they didn't seem to understand what I was asking for. And they also, whoever it was that was answering their helpline, didn't seem to know anything about the motors themselves. Then I was transferred to, this was all in an email, and I ended up calling them, because when I got the first response, nobody responded to my response. These are the I guess they're dust covers for the backs. So I ended up calling them, and I got some woman who didn't quite understand what I was asking for, and I had to send her a picture, and then she apparently sent that picture or contacted someone in manufacturing, or engineering or something like that, and they came back and said that they don't sell that part and that my motor would have to be replaced. Now, if that was the only thing that was wrong with my motor, these things, you can get them. I have looked. They're all over the place. They're just very specific sizes, these rubber mounts. And they're kind of difficult to find precisely the right mount size. Mine measure, on the inside, the hexagon measures 1.71 inches, and the outside is 2.5. The closest snug fit would be an 11/16 inside, and I wasn't able to find anything that size. I was pretty thorough. I even asked some people on some forums, and not much luck. I ended up just cleaning up the ones I have, and using just using the old ones. I still will keep an eye out for them, but the likelihood that I'll find anything is pretty low. But the point of fixing this thing is not so much that I'm making it brand new. It's just that I need something for my brother if his cooler breaks down, he has a spare motor that he can just put in. And these mounts, they're old. They're only 5 years old, but you know, baking at 120-degree temperature does a number on them. But yeah, their response was that I'm out of luck. They won't help me, and so shame on them for being jerks. Anyways, when we come back, hopefully we'll have the capacitor. Hopefully it's the right size and fits, and I can give this thing a test run. Okay, the capacitor arrived today same day as I shot the last bit of video, and I replaced the spade type connectors with these male, female, whatever you want to call them type, and this capacitor is much thinner than the other one, so it fits just fine. I found there was a problem with the contacts for the what do you call it, the centrifugal switch, that besides the fact that the capacitor wasn't working, the switch wasn't actually making contact when it was on low, so it wouldn't engage for low speed. So I'm going to give this thing a test here. Just put a piece of tape on it so you can see it turns. I've got my suicide cord. This is a cord with a set of alligator clips on the end called suicide cords, because if you use these wrong you can kill yourself. So we're going to connect it up. I'm holding this in my hand. I'm connecting one prong to common, one to low. They're insulated from everything else, and I'm going to plug them into my isolation transformer, because I don't want this, if something goes wrong. And let's see what happens. There you go. That's low. You can hear the centrifugal switch. Now I've got this over here, and I'm going to pull the low off and put that on high, and now we're going to do it on high. And there you go. One refurbished, ready to go motor. Later.